On this episode, I'm going to talk about what you need to do right now. Welcome to episode 9 of Property Investing Plus. My name is Josh Redman, and today we are covering a topic that I'm very passionate about. It's my understanding that someone's profit-making potential is directly related to how much self-investment they do, how much they're willing to put in, how much they're willing to better themselves, putting a large investment in their emotional, financial, and investing intelligence. And that's what we're going to cover in this week's episode. So far we've covered some great topics about getting your finances in order and about setting your property investing goals. You now know the income you want and the asset base required to make that happen. So the next most common question is all about how am I going to do this? So let's spend a bit of time answering that question. So it's important, first off, that you think of property investing as a career and not an outcome. That way, by thinking of it as a career, you'll always be willing to learn more and more and get better and better, improving your investing skills along the way, which in turn will always increase the profit you find in property. Think of it as growing your skill base and then using that skill base in turn to make more and more money. You know, the law of sowing and reaping always puts sowing first. You can't reap something that you haven't sown. So it's time to sow into yourself, become a better and more sophisticated investor. It's time to sow into improving your skills. Next, I want to ask you, how well do you know yourself? I mean, how much risk can you handle? Do you know? Risk can be a really nasty thing, and for some of us, even just a little risk can keep us up at night. Knowing how much you can take is important because risk in property investing is unavoidable, and nobody wants to be up at night. So it might be time to do a self-audit. What I mean when I say that is you may need to spend some time now in reflection and ask yourself some questions about who you are. Now, one thing I like to encourage people to do as a bit of a starting point is to draw a 3-column table. Now, in the first column, I want you to put your roles, your current roles that you have in life. You know, you're a husband, you're a parent, you work in blah, blah, etc., etc. So every role that you can think of, I want you to list in the first column. Now, in the middle column, I want you to put how important that role is to you. And I want you to give it a rating out of 1 to 10, with 1 being the most important. So it's important to note here also that you can have more than one number. So it's okay to have 2 1s and 2 2s on that importance scale. Now, in the final column for each role that you've listed, I want you to put a happiness rating. This again is 1 to 10, and 1 being something that makes you incredibly happy, something that you are really passionate about, something that makes you happy beyond belief. Now, it's important to note here that this is a really good starting point. It's not the complete picture, and now it's time to kind of include the people that are closest to you. It's time to start asking those close to you who you are to them. And use that data to compile it with what you already have about yourself to kind of get a better idea about who you are. Now, once we've got all this data, it's time to go a little bit deeper. It's time to start asking yourself some pretty hard questions about your likes and dislikes, but also about things that you're passionate about, like overwhelmingly passionate about. What are those things in your life? Now, it's important to note that this is just a starting point in the whole process of getting to know yourself, and it's important to find out who you are and how that relates to property investing. So like I said before, things like risk are things that you need to know. You need to look back on your own life and think about times where you've been impacted by risk and what's that done? How have you reacted in that certain situation? Another important thing to know is how you react to stress. What does stress do to you? Is that something that gets the blood pumping? Is it something that you react poorly to? Or is stress something that you handle very well? All of these things are important and relate back to property investing. Now, it's important to know that no one will ever care more about your financial freedom than you. But in property investing, you can't do this alone. You need a team of people around you, and at the different stages that you experience in your property investing journey, your team will change. Right now for me, it's just my wife and I, and that works well. But as things progress and things move on and we get further into this adventure, then that team will need to change. At some stage I might need to bring in some other partners for whatever reasons, but it's important to make sure that we have similar values and goals in this overall process. You know, maybe you and your partner will do as you kind of start along this journey of property investing. Maybe you've been struggling alone for far too long already. Maybe it's time to find that support and encouragement that comes from being in a team. So in summary, guys, it's important to think of property investing as a career and not an outcome. It's time to skill up. It's time to find new ways to improve the skills that you have to become a more sophisticated investor. That way you can increase the profit that you find in each job. Take some time to get to know yourself. Really, spend some time in reflection, ask yourself some hard questions and find out who you really are and find out how that ties in with property investing. It would also be good to include those close to you in the overall process. That way you can have the data that you have the data you collected from those close to you and see where they cross over. Look at the team you have right now. Who's in it currently? Do you need to bring in some more people? Do you need to bring in some partners? Have you been struggling alone for far too long? Maybe it's time to look at who you can bring into your team. It's important to remember you can't do this on your own. It is literally the quickest way to failure, and I don't want you to fail. So that's it for another episode of Property Investing Plus. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to share this video. Question of the day today is, I want to know who is currently on your team. Who have you got on your team? Put your answer in the comments below. And again, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.